In a distant galaxy where stars sparkled like diamonds in the night, a group of mercenaries gathered in a dimly lit spaceport. The air was thick with tension and excitement. These mercenaries were known for taking on the most dangerous missions across the universe. Among them was Alex, a skilled human fighter with a reputation for completing impossible tasks. Alex was not just any mercenary, he was smart, resourceful, and fearless. His reputation spread far and wide, but he had always felt different from the others. While most mercenaries saw their missions as just jobs, Alex believed in fighting for a cause. He wanted to make a name for humanity in a galaxy that often underestimated them. One day, a powerful alien warlord named Zorak walked into the spaceport, accompanied by a team of intimidating guards. His presence silenced the room. Zorak was a tall, muscular creature with green skin and piercing red eyes. He commanded respect and fear wherever he went. The mercenaries looked at each other, their curiosity piqued. "Listen up!" Zorak's voice boomed, echoing off the metal walls. "I have a mission for you, and the reward is greater than anything you've ever seen. Are you interested?" The mercenaries leaned in, eager to hear more. Zorak unfolded a holographic display, revealing a picture of a human target. The room fell silent as everyone gasped. The target was not just any human, it was someone known across the galaxy. A warrior who had defeated many alien foes. His name was Commander Jack Harris, a soldier who had saved countless lives in battles against oppressive alien forces. "This human is a threat to my empire," Zorak continued. "I want him eliminated. Complete this mission and you will receive a fortune beyond your imagination." The mercenaries exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and unease. Many had fought humans before, and the stories were often terrifying. Humans, with their unpredictable nature and determination, were not to be underestimated. They could outthink even the most advanced alien technology. Alex felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew Commander Harris by reputation. The stories of his bravery and cunning made him a legendary figure among humans and aliens alike. Alex understood the risk involved in this mission. The moment the mercenaries accepted, they would be targeting a hero, a man who fought for freedom and justice. As the mercenaries debated the offer, Alex listened carefully. Some were eager to take on the challenge, their eyes gleaming with the prospect of wealth. Others were more cautious, recalling tales of humans who had turned the tide in battles with their tenacity and clever tactics. "I say we do it," shouted a burly alien named Korg. "Think of the gold. We can retire after this." "But what if we fail?" replied another mercenary, her voice trembling. "Humans have a way of surprising us. We could be walking into a trap." Alex decided it was time to speak up. "Listen, everyone. This isn't just about money. We're talking about a human soldier, someone who has fought for his people. If we take this contract, we risk more than just our lives. We risk our honor." The room fell silent as the mercenaries considered Alex's words. Many had never fought alongside a human before and only knew them from stories. Those stories painted humans as fierce fighters who wouldn't back down, no matter the odds. Zorak, sensing the hesitation in the room, scowled. "Do you dare question my orders? This is a lucrative deal and I expect results." "You'll regret turning it down." But Alex stood firm. "We won't be anyone's pawns. If you want to kill a hero, you'll have to find another group." "We refuse your contract!" The tension in the air was palpable. Zorak's eyes narrowed, and for a moment Alex feared the warlord would attack. But then, with a flick of his wrist, Zorak dismissed the mercenaries. "You'll regret this decision. Humans are nothing but pests." As Zorak strode out, Alex felt a surge of pride. He had chosen honor over greed. But little did he know, their decision would have consequences far beyond their imagination. The galaxy was about to change, and humans were ready to prove their worth. After the meeting with Zorak, the atmosphere in the mercenary camp shifted. While some were still buzzing with excitement about the potential wealth, others were more concerned about the implications of rejecting the warlord's contract. Among them was Alex, who felt a growing sense of unease. He had no idea what challenges lay ahead. The next day, Alex called a meeting to discuss their next steps. He gathered his fellow mercenaries in a small makeshift tent in the camp. The tent smelled of metal and oil, filled with various weapons and gear scattered about. Everyone took their seats, their faces filled with curiosity and concern. "Okay, everyone," Alex began, his voice steady. "We need to talk about this human target, Commander Jack Harris. We might have turned down Zorak's mission, but we should understand who we're dealing with. A tall alien named Zara spoke up. I heard he's a legend among humans. They say he's defeated entire armies. Why would we even think of going after him? Alex nodded. That's exactly why we need to know more. I've heard stories of his battles. He's not just a soldier, he's a leader. He fights for his people and knows how to outsmart his enemies. Another mercenary, a small but tough creature named Grom, chimed in. So what? We turned down Zorak. Why should we care? Let him find someone else to do his dirty work. But what if Zorak decides to come after us next? Alex countered. He won't take our refusal lightly. We might have to prepare for a fight, and knowing our enemy will help us. The group fell silent, considering Alex's words. Finally, Zara sighed. Okay, so what do we do? Alex smiled, feeling a sense of camaraderie. First, let's gather intelligence on Harris. We need to know his strengths and weaknesses. Then we can plan how to defend ourselves if Zorak sends someone after us. With that, the mercenaries sprang into action. They split into teams to gather information. Some would search for reports on Commander Harris, while others would look for possible allies or anyone who had crossed paths with him. As the sun began to set, the mercenaries reconvened. They shared their findings, and the stories about Harris only grew more impressive. A hulking mercenary named Brax recounted a tale he heard from a trader. I met a merchant who once sold supplies to Harris, Brax said, his eyes wide with excitement. He told me Harris fought off an entire battalion of aliens alone. They say he didn't just defeat them, he made them flee in terror. Another mercenary, a sharp-eyed female named Tessa, added, and he did it to save a colony. The people there were in danger, and he didn't hesitate. He's not just a soldier, he's a hero. As the stories unfolded, Alex felt a mix of admiration and concern. It was clear that Harris was more than just a target. He was a symbol of hope for many. If Zorak was indeed targeting him, it was not just a personal vendetta, it was an attack on everything Harris stood for. Guys, Alex said, his voice growing serious, if Zorak wants to take down Harris, it means he's afraid. Harris represents something greater than himself. We might have refused the contract, but we can't just sit back and do nothing. We have to prepare for a fight. The mercenaries nodded in agreement. They knew the risks, but they also understood that by standing against Zorak, they might be fighting for something much larger than themselves. In the days that followed, Alex and his team trained hard, honing their skills and strategizing their defenses. They practiced combat drills and set up lookout points around their camp. Meanwhile, Alex kept an eye out for news about Commander Harris, hoping to find a way to contact him. One night, while reviewing their plans under the stars, a strange ship appeared in the sky. It was sleek and fast, unlike anything the mercenaries had seen before. As it descended, Alex felt a mix of hope and dread. Was this the chance they had been waiting for? Or was it Zorak's men coming to settle the score? As the ship landed, the mercenaries prepared for the unknown, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did they know, the arrival of this ship would change everything, drawing them deeper into the conflict between humans and the powerful warlord who sought to destroy them. The ship that landed near the mercenary camp gleamed in the moonlight, its metallic surface reflecting the stars above. Alex and his fellow mercenaries watched with a mix of anticipation and fear. They had rejected Zorak's mission, and now they wondered if they would face the consequences. As the hatch opened, a tall figure emerged. It was a human, dressed in tactical gear and carrying a high-tech weapon. Alex's heart raced. Was this Commander Jack Harris, the legendary warrior they had heard so much about? The figure stepped forward, revealing a strong, determined face. It was not Harris, but one of his trusted lieutenants named Mia. I come in peace, she called out, her voice steady and confident. I'm here to speak with the mercenaries who rejected Zorak's contract. Alex stepped forward. That's us. We turned it down. What do you want with us? Mia studied them carefully. You made a wise choice. Zorak is dangerous, and he doesn't take kindly to rejection. I'm here to ask for your help. The mercenaries exchanged glances, surprised by the unexpected request. Alex sensed the urgency in Mia's voice. Help with what? He asked. Zorak is planning something big, she explained, her brow furrowing. He wants to eliminate anyone who poses a threat to his empire, and that includes Commander Harris. We need to stop him before it's too late. Alex felt a mix of emotions. He had always admired Harris's courage, and now he realized that their choice to refuse Zorak's mission had placed them in a position to make a difference. What do you need us to do? he asked, feeling the weight of responsibility. Mia smiled, sensing their willingness to fight. We need to gather intelligence on Zorak's forces. He has an army at his command, and we can't let him catch Harris off guard. If we work together, we can turn the tide against him. The mercenaries quickly agreed. They understood the risks, but also saw an opportunity to protect not just a hero, but their own lives as well. Mia shared what she knew about Zorak's plans and the locations of his bases. The more they learned, the clearer it became that they were on the brink of a significant confrontation. Over the next few days, Alex and his team worked alongside Mia, gathering intelligence and preparing for the inevitable clash with Zorak's forces. They used their skills to scout the area, employing stealth tactics to avoid detection. Each night, they returned to the camp with valuable information, piecing together Zorak's strategy. As they worked, tension grew in the camp. Every time they reported back, they felt the weight of their choice pressing down on them. Zorak was not just a warlord, he was ruthless and had a reputation for eliminating those who stood in his way. One evening, as they reviewed their findings, a sudden alarm blared through the camp. The ground shook as explosions rocked the area. Alex's heart sank. They had been discovered. "Everyone get to your posts," Alex shouted, his voice filled with urgency. The mercenaries rushed to grab their weapons, readying themselves for battle. Mia turned to Alex, her expression serious. "We need to fight back! If we don't, we'll lose everything we've worked for." Alex nodded, feeling the adrenaline surge through his veins. "Let's show Zorak what we're made of." As the first wave of Zorak's soldiers descended upon them, the mercenaries fought bravely. They had trained hard, and now they faced their greatest test. Blasts of energy and the sounds of gunfire filled the air. The mercenaries moved with purpose, each one knowing they had something to protect. But as the battle raged on, it became clear that Zorak's forces were more numerous and better equipped. One by one, the mercenaries began to fall. Alex fought fiercely, but he could see his comrades struggling against the overwhelming enemy. "Hold the line!" he shouted, but deep down, he knew they were outmatched. Just when all hope seemed lost, the ground shook again, this time from the sound of heavy artillery approaching. Mia looked at Alex, her eyes wide with realization. "Reinforcements!" she exclaimed. Out of the smoke and chaos, a squad of soldiers arrived, led by none other than Commander Jack Harris himself. His presence was electrifying, and the tide of battle began to turn. Harris moved through the chaos like a force of nature, rallying the mercenaries and his troops. "Fight for your lives!" he roared, his voice cutting through the din of battle. Inspired by Harris's bravery, the mercenaries found renewed strength. Together, they pushed back against Zorak's forces, fighting not just for their survival, but for the future of their galaxy. In that moment, Alex realized that their rejection of Zorak's mission had led them to this very fight. They were no longer just mercenaries. They were part of something much larger, standing together against a common enemy. As they battled side by side with Commander Harris, they knew they had made the right choice, and the fight was just beginning. The battle raged on as Commander Jack Harris and the mercenaries fought valiantly against Zorak's forces. The air was filled with smoke, and the ground trembled from the sounds of explosions. Harris led the charge, rallying the mercenaries with his fierce determination. It felt like the tide was finally turning in their favor. But Zorak was not a warlord to be underestimated. In the shadows, he watched the chaos unfold, his anger boiling. He couldn't believe that a group of mercenaries, along with a human commander, had dared to defy him. It was time for him to make a statement. He would unleash his full power to crush those who dared oppose him. Zorak called for his most dangerous warriors, a group known as the Shadow Raiders. These were his elite soldiers, trained to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. They were swift, deadly, and utterly loyal to Zorak. He knew that sending them into battle would ensure that his enemies would learn the price of defiance. As the battle continued, the Shadow Raiders descended upon the battlefield like a dark storm. Dressed in black armor and moving with eerie silence, they quickly overwhelmed the mercenaries. The mercenaries, though brave, were taken aback by the sudden shift in power. Alex fought alongside Harris, but as the Shadow Raiders moved in, they found themselves quickly outmatched. The mercenaries had trained hard, but Zorak's elite fighters were on another level. One by one, they fell, caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of their enemies. "We can't hold them!" Alex shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "Stay focused." Harris replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to regroup and find a way to counter them." As they fought, the mercenaries struggled to communicate. The Shadow Raiders worked together like a well-oiled machine, using their advanced weaponry to create confusion and chaos. Explosions rocked the battlefield, sending debris flying and making it difficult to see. In the midst of the turmoil, Zorak watched with satisfaction. He felt a sense of power as he observed his enemies struggling. "Let them see what true strength looks like," he sneered. He had underestimated them before, but this time he would not make the same mistake. The mercenaries found a moment to breathe, gathering in a small group behind a fallen structure. They knew they needed a new plan. Harris looked around at his comrades, determination shining in his eyes. "We can't let Zorak win. We have to strike back." But just as they were regrouping, Zorak unleashed a powerful weapon, a massive energy blast that illuminated the night sky. It struck the ground near their position, sending a shockwave that knocked everyone off their feet. The blast created a massive crater, and dust filled the air. For a moment, everything was silent. Alex struggled to stand, his ears ringing. When the dust settled, he could see the Shadow Raiders advancing, taking advantage of the chaos. "We have to move!" Mia shouted, pulling Alex to his feet. They quickly gathered their weapons and began to retreat, trying to find a better position. Harris was not ready to give up. "We can't let Zorak think he has won. We need to create a diversion to buy us some time." The mercenaries nodded in agreement. They split into two groups, one to distract the Shadow Raiders while the other regrouped and prepared to strike. Alex and Mia led the diversion, running toward a nearby hill where they could take a better stand. As they reached the top, they prepared their weapons, using the high ground to their advantage. "We can't let them surround us," Alex said, panting. "We need to hold them off long enough for Harris and the others to regroup." With their hearts pounding, they opened fire on the approaching Shadow Raiders, trying to buy time for their allies. The mercenaries fought bravely, but the Shadow Raiders were relentless. They pressed forward, determined to crush any remaining resistance. Meanwhile, Zorak seethed with anger. His forces were faltering, and he could not tolerate failure. "Crush them! Show no mercy!" he commanded, his voice echoing through the chaos. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the mercenaries heard the roar of engines. More reinforcements were arriving. A squadron of Harris's soldiers swooped down from above, raining fire on Zorak's forces and pushing the Shadow Raiders back. "Now's our chance!" Mia shouted, her eyes shining with hope. With renewed strength, the mercenaries fought back, pushing against the Shadow Raiders with everything they had. The tide of battle began to shift again, and they rallied around Harris, ready to reclaim their ground. But Zorak, witnessing his forces falter, realized he had to act quickly. He turned to his elite soldiers. "Fall back! We will regroup and strike again!" As Zorak's forces withdrew, the mercenaries and Harris stood together, battered but unbroken. They had survived the first wave of Zorak's revenge, but the war was far from over. They knew that Zorak would return, angrier and more determined than ever. With that knowledge in mind, Alex looked at his comrades, knowing they had to prepare for what was to come. The fight against Zorak was only just beginning, and they would need every ounce of strength to face the challenges ahead. The dust of battle had finally settled, but the scars it left behind remained visible on the battlefield. Commander Jack Harris and the mercenaries surveyed the scene, taking in the remnants of the fierce conflict. Broken machinery lay scattered across the ground, and the air was thick with the smell of smoke and burnt metal. Though they had survived the onslaught of Zorak's forces, the cost was heavy. Many brave souls had fought and fallen, their sacrifice echoing in the hearts of those who remained. As night fell, a somber silence enveloped the camp. The mercenaries gathered together, their faces marked with exhaustion and grief. Alex looked around at his comrades, feeling the weight of their shared loss. "We did our best," he said quietly, trying to comfort them. "But we have to keep moving forward." Harris stepped forward, his presence commanding. "We have shown Zorak that we will not back down. He will think twice before attacking us again." The group nodded, knowing they had stood strong against a formidable enemy. Mia, who had fought alongside them, looked at the commander with determination. "But we can't stop here. Zorak will regroup and he will come back with more force. We need to prepare for that." The mercenaries agreed, realizing that to survive they must unite and become stronger. They needed allies. Harris turned to the group, his mind already working on their next steps. We need to reach out to others who may be willing to join us. There are many out there who have suffered under Zorak's rule. We must find them." The mercenaries set to work immediately. They sent out messages to nearby planets, calling for anyone willing to join the fight against Zorak. Days turned into weeks, and the camp became a hub of activity. Messages came back from various groups. Some were small, struggling factions, while others were larger, well-established organizations. As new faces arrived, the mercenaries welcomed them with open arms. Among them were fighters from different planets, each with their own stories and experiences. There were former soldiers, brave women and men who had lost everything to Zorak's tyranny. Each new recruit brought fresh skills and ideas, strengthening their cause. One evening, as they gathered around a fire, the atmosphere shifted from somber to hopeful. Stories were shared, laughter broke the silence, and bonds were formed. Alex found himself speaking with a soldier named Lyra, who had a fierce determination in her eyes. "We've all suffered, but together we can change things," she said passionately. Harris stood before the group, addressing the new alliances they had formed. "This is more than just a fight against Zorak. We are creating something bigger, an alliance for freedom. We will not let fear rule our lives any longer." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the promise of unity. Together, they made plans to prepare for the next encounter with Zorak. They trained hard, combining their skills to create a force that could rival the warlord's army. However, despite their newfound strength, Zorak was not idle. In the shadows, he was plotting his revenge. His spies had reported back about the growing alliance, and he was furious. "They think they can rise against me?" he growled, slamming his fist on a table. "They will learn the true meaning of power." Determined to crush their hopes before they could take root, Zorak summoned his generals. "We will strike them down before they become a real threat," he commanded. "We'll attack their base before they can gather more forces." As Zorak made his plans, the mercenaries and their new allies continued to strengthen their defenses. They established watchtowers and created strategies for the battles to come. Each day, their bond grew stronger and their resolve deepened. One evening, while training, Mia approached Alex. "Do you think we're ready for what's coming?" she asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Alex thought for a moment, then replied, "We are stronger together. We have faced danger before and we survived. As long as we stand united, we have a chance." Their training sessions became more intense as they honed their skills, preparing for the inevitable clash with Zorak. They practiced teamwork, learning to rely on one another. The camaraderie that developed among them was a powerful force, giving them hope in the face of uncertainty. As the sun set on another day, the mercenaries gathered to discuss their strategy. They had a plan, but they knew that Zorak would not go down without a fight. Together, they would face whatever came next, standing tall against the warlord's wrath. The bond formed through shared experiences had transformed them from a group of mercenaries into a formidable alliance. They were ready to take the fight to Zorak, determined to reclaim their freedom and protect their newfound allies. United, they stood strong, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them on the horizon. The battle for their future had only just begun.